Hello everyone and welcome to the first review of Downhaven Entertainment. For our first movie review, I will be reviewing The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, upon hearing that the Spider-Man reboot was in the works, I was like, why? Surely Spider-Man 3 was bad, we all know, but at the same time I felt like it was too soon. But after seeing the previews, I started to like the idea. Then here comes the advertising. Then more advertising. Then more advertising. Then more advertising. Sneak peeks. Sneak peeks. 6-minute preview. There was so much marketing, I could give you a good outline of what was going to happen in the movie. I'm serious. You can compile all of the previews and sneak peeks for this movie and have a sporadic 25-minute short of The Amazing Spider-Man. I'm serious. Look this up. But anyway, The Amazing Spider-Man stars Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. Now, right off the bat, I was glad to see him in this role because, if you don't know, for some reason, the boy could act. But it's not that alone. I mean, he kind of looks like a Peter Parker that we can all get to like. Also, director Marc Webb was involved, and the only movie I've seen that he's directed was 500 Days of Summer, which is one of my favorite romantic comedies. Now, lately I've heard complaints about the film, such as 1. Plot's going nowhere, 2. Movie's too long, 3. Ripping off the first Spider-Man movie when it comes to its origin, which is not true. But that's what made the movie so good, if you ask me. Okay, first, since you're making more Spider-Man movies in the future, you have to have things in the movie that'll get your audience to want to see your sequels. Cause boy, I'll tell you, I'm definitely going to see Prometheus Dose and definitely want to see the next Spider-Man movie. Why? To get some answers. In my opinion, that's what happened to the Matrix franchise. You got most of the answers in the first film, so the next movie just looks like a good time. Nothing's really deep anymore, so we're just going to make up stuff as we go. 2. It being too long. Yeah, I kind of get it. There were some parts where I was wanting the movie to pick up, but I'm fine with the 2-hour films because I paid $10 and I'm not going to be mad at you when you want to tell your story and getting me invested in these characters. I mean, look what happened to Daredevil. Compare the theatrical cut to the director's cut. Seriously, when it comes to the Amazing Spider-Man characters, I like them. When Peter's uncle died, I kind of felt it because the character was written so well. Heck, I even like the villain, and I'm pretty sure we'll get to find out more about him in the next film. And when Peter Parker became Spider-Man, I got the sense that I grew with the character becoming Spider-Man. Somewhat. 3. They're not ripping off the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. What the Amazing Spider-Man movie did was tell a Spider-Man origin story that's closer to the comics, and making a good Spider-Man movie. It's like stating Chris Nolan's Batman ripped off Tim Burton's Batman because Bruce's parents were gunned down in an alley, or Nolan ripping off Joel Schumacher because Bruce fell in a cave and bats flew around him. There are events that made Batman Batman. There are events that made Spider-Man Spider-Man, and this movie is more defined than the Sam Raimi films. Okay, now let's talk about what worked in the movie. The cast. Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's chemistry was good. What probably helped was the real-life romance these two have. And it helped the whole love story between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy feel more real, and I liked them as a couple in the movie. And of course, respectively, and needless to say, the rest of the cast did an awesome job of acting out their characters. I mean, the whole cast did a solid job. The music. James Horner did the score for this film and did a great job. Some of the music was so different for a superhero movie and he took bold choices. For example, there's a scene in the movie where the music sounded just like this. Yet, though I was kind of laughing, for me it worked. And while I was in the theater, at some points I said, this music sounds a lot like A Beautiful Mind music. I looked it up, and yes, James Horner has scored A Beautiful Mind as well. The writing and directing for this movie was great. They took their time in telling the story, which is a plus for me. All of these characters were three-dimensional and had depth. Peter Parker in this film felt more realistic, or better yet modern. He was a genius kid who was just a little eccentric rather than the stereotypical nerd. Gwen wasn't the victim. She was strong, smart, and wasn't the damsel in distress. And I liked that about her. Speaking of that, what I loved about the villain is that he at least had a mission. He didn't get bogged down on knowing a certain secret and using it on our protagonist. He went out and he did what he felt that he needed to do. And lastly, the cheese fest is not here. There's no cheesiness in this movie. Good. Now let's look into what didn't work. The marketing for this film was insane and unnecessary. The things were cut during the advertising, so what was in the advertisements weren't in the actual film. The movie promised telling the untold story of Peter Parker. Heck, Dr. Connors asked Peter, "Do you think what happened to you was an accident?" Now, when you actually get into the movie, 10 out of 100% of the untold is told in this movie. So it made the film feel a little dull because that's one of the main reasons I was excited to see this movie. And there are some parts where you'll say, huh? No one saw that? In New York? Really? No one asked questions or is concerned? What? But that's minor. Okay, overall, it felt slightly off and I really wanted to give this movie the highest grade I have. Thanks to unnecessary marketing and slight false advertisement, I'll have to give this movie a solid A-.